I know.
Or the Pac-12 for that matter.
Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Long Beach City College Personnel Commission. It's April 5th, 2021. And we'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance for this evening. May I ask Robert if he minds doing the Pledge of Allegiance for us?
Not at all. I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
Please stand. Put your hand over your heart and start. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Robert. Let's go ahead and start with the roll call. Robin?
Here.
Jeff?
Here.
And I'm here. We are all present this evening. Public comments on agenda items. This is public comments that we have received from the public by 4 o'clock today. Juliet, do we have anything for us this evening?
No comments today, Janine.
Thank you, Juliet. Approval of the minutes. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Robin. Thank you, Jeff. Is there any discussion on the minutes for the last meeting? Hearing and seeing none. Robin?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to approval of the revised rules and regulations, chapter 6. This is a partial approval. And may I have, let me see, we need a motion on this, correct? Yes,
So
may I have a
moved.
motion, please? Thank
So
you.
moved.
Second.
Thank you. And is there any discussion on this? Let's bring this back so that we can share what we shared in the last meeting and make sure we're all on the same page. Jennifer, do you want to just go over what's been done since we last met?
Sure. At the recommendation of the commission, I was able to meet with Robert, with Donna Coates, and also Mark Smith, and approach this item in more of a committee format. It was a really good exercise that we went through. There's sometimes you think that you're doing something to benefit the district and it seems really straightforward. And there's just, certain perspectives that you don't account for. So it led to really good discussion. We were actually able to resolve it pretty quickly, right, Robert? And Donna, if you're on the line, within 10, 15 minutes. The major concern was, one, making sure that we are within Ed Code. So the life of a list should never be more than 24 months. So we were able to talk through that. And really, what is the intent of this? What if we had a list that was in its 23rd month? Would we extend the life of that list for 1 month just because we like somebody on that list? So we really talked about the intention, the business need for this. What is an appropriate time frame when a list has expired to extend it? And we went back and forth between 60 and 90 days. And we said, you know what, within 90 days, we should know if there's a business necessity for that list. And that's appropriate authority to take it to the commission and just talk through the pros and cons, and it can still be denied, on whatever evidence is presented at that time. So again, it was a really good discussion, and we're aligned now that this is appropriate to move forward with.
Thank you, Jennifer. Robert, and I don't know if Donna's out there or not, or Mark's out there. Would you like to share any information?
Yeah,
with
it was
us?
a great meeting with Jennifer. The committee, got to talk over our concerns, and it really worked out to make it best for everybody involved. So the commission, it really still comes back to the commission. So you still have ultimate power, which makes all of us really happy. So they have the ability to bring up lists that may be needed and then bring it to the commission within the 90 days. And otherwise we stick with the old ruling. So it was very productive and it went really quickly. It was great. Thank you.
That's great. Is there any concern whatsoever out there that's still lingering that anyone knows of, or do we all feel very comfortable with what's happened since we last spoke?
I have a question.
Sure, Robin, go ahead.
Was there any discussion while your group was together about the committee you had first in the meeting that hadn't been formed yet?
Yeah, so we did talk about the union's availability and whether or not we should be pursuing it at this time. Rules Committee until we finish the classification study. And we agreed that within the next month or so, we do want to start pursuing this. So there was
Okay.
good discussion around that as well.
Thank you. That was my only question.
Thank you, Robin. Anyone else have any comments or recommendations? Anything that we can see that could go take this off the rails, or are we all feeling very comfortable?
I want to say thank you to for everyone to doing this. Again, I'm going to just summarize very quickly. It was never an intent of someone was trying to do something maliciously, but I just, from watching and seeing how so many times inadvertently, things can in the future can be referenced back, and since we didn't follow the process and procedure, and by doing so, I think it just gives a comfort level that I would tell you how often I hear everyone will advocate for shared governance, and but being an advocate for it and actually following it. And even though I know it was probably a little bit of a pain to meet for a short period of time because you're all very busy, but I just appreciate the fact that you followed that and that we just kept along the lines and stayed within the policies and procedures, and not just talking about shared governance and also ed code, et cetera, but actually following it, because I get very concerned. And this is one of the few opportunities that we as a personnel commission actually deal with it and get to look at it and put our stamp on it. And so even though I know it's extra work, I appreciate that. And most importantly, just appreciate the fact that this way, no one can come back. And even though you're all doing for the best of the college, that may not be interpreted if you deviate from a policy and procedure like this. So I appreciate the fact that we stayed true to it. And for me, it just protected a lot of people. I just know that there are people out there who maliciously will try to abuse it. And that wasn't the case here, but I think we just, that way, I just really want to make sure I protect not just the system, but also the individuals, that it doesn't come back to bite us in the future. And just doing this little step, regardless of the size, it still matters. So my appreciation to all of you taking the time to do it. And I have nothing at all, as long as we followed it, and we're good to go.
Thanks, Jeff. Anyone else? I just want to share, I also appreciate all the time that everyone put into this and the thought. And I also appreciate everyone's willingness to let it go for 2 more weeks to make sure that we did have that comfort level. So thank you very much to everyone who was involved. Thank you very much. Is there any other comments before we take a vote? Hearing, seeing none. Robin?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye. That passes unanimously. Thank you again to everyone who worked on that. On to B in old business, approval of extension of eligibility list. This is for instructional aid. This expires 9/2/21. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I will second it.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the extension of eligibility list? Jennifer, anything you want to share on this?
No, I just want to thank the commission for revisiting this. This is also an item that we tabled from the last meeting, just so we could go back to the rule. And it's a 6-month extension, and we have 35 candidates still on that list. So it's a viable list. So thank you.
Great, great, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Robin?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to new business, approval of eligibility list. This is for Deputy Director of Operations and Maintenance. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the
So moved.
motion.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item?
Just
As
a
we
quick
discussed
overview.
before, you want to talk,
Just-
yeah, just to bring us back up to date from this.
Yeah, just a quick overview. We had 46 applications, and of those 46, 8 applications moved forward to the oral panel interview. Of the 8 individuals who attended the interview, 6 were placed on the eligibility list. This deputy director role serves as number 2 in the facilities department.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any other questions? Comments? Hearing and seeing none. Robin?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to approval of eligibility list. This is for instructional aid for Student Success Center. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Does anyone have any discussion on this, or Jennifer, do you have any information for us?
This was a much larger applicant pool. We had 163 applications, 43 applications moved forward. Of the 10 who participated in the oral panel interview, 6 were placed on the eligibility list. So a good candidate pool that we were able to narrow down considerably.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this item?
Jennifer, I'm looking, I don't see it. How many of those are internal, already existing? Do we have that? Internal people that were
Internal
already.
candidates? I'm not too sure off the top of my head. Let me see if I can pull up that number really quickly.
I swear I didn't see it, and that's why I'm only asking. It's not critical. I'm just always curious. If it's not handy, don't worry. I didn't see it. I still don't see it.
Yeah, we provided the general demographics of the applicant pool, the aggregate data. I can look into that for you, Jeff.
Don't worry. It's just always with that large of a pool. I was just curious how many were internal, just because of the sheer size of it. So, okay, not a problem.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Jeff. Any other comments on this item? Hearing and seeing none. Robin
I vote aye.
and Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye. That passes unanimously. On to information items. Our next meeting is Monday, April 19th, 2021, 5 o'clock, and we'll be doing that via Zoom again. And then we have California Community Colleges Classified Employee of the Year nomination. This is always an exciting item for us. Jennifer, would you like to fill us in on that? Maybe Robert, you might want to chime in too.
I actually have a special guest on the line or
Oh,
with us
good.
today. Sonia Della Torre. Sonia, are you still there?
Right there.
I am. Thank you so much for the opportunity to attend today. And I'm happy to have the opportunity to speak on this item. As Jennifer mentioned, my name is Sonia Della Torre. I have the privilege of serving as the Interim Dean of Student Equity here at Long Beach City College. And I'm really pleased that the college has selected Linda Olmos as Classified Employee of the Year. I'm even more excited that her name is being forwarded and for recognition at the state level and being nominated for Chancellor's Office recognition. Linda has gone above and beyond since being remote, really prioritizing serving our most vulnerable student populations. And what I want to do today is highlight some examples that illustrate why Linda is so deserving of this recognition. Every single week since March of 2020, Linda is on campus helping to bag groceries, and she assists in the distribution of those groceries to our students. Every single week since being remote, March 2020, Linda has been a key person in helping to inventory our technology. This means receiving the technology, unpacking the technology, a laptop, a power cord, a case, a mouse, a USB, labeling every single piece, bagging all of that together, and then distributing all of this inventory. There are over 1,800 technology pieces of equipment that have been inventoried and sent out. This doesn't include hotspots. This is primarily talking about Chromebooks. And so she has really been a key figure in that. I also want to elevate that Linda has been instrumental in supporting our systems impacted and formerly incarcerated students. She has been one of the key personnel in case managing our students and also providing referrals on campus and in the broader community, connecting them to basic needs and community resources. Going remote, we also continue to offer our virtual cultural and heritage celebrations. I have seen many of you attend, so thank you so much. I know Commissioner Gordon, I just saw you at one of our events last week, so thank you for being there. Linda has been instrumental in helping us reimagine how we can continue to offer cultural and heritage programming while being remote. She has also introduced new programming that has been critical for students like Knowledge is Power. And so what I want to leave you with today is that Linda has been responsive, thoughtful, student-centered. For me, she really embodies what it means to serve through an equity lens, our community college students, so that they can be successful. And so I'm just absolutely elated that she is being recognized. And I want to thank you for your time to speak on this item.
Thank you.
Sonia, thank you so much for being here and introducing her. She sounds like she's just such an asset to the college and asset to the students. And we really appreciate all of her hard work, along with all the rest of our employees. We have so many deserving, but we can only honor one. But I hope she goes on to the state, and I hope she wins. That'd be great. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments? Thank you again, Sonia. On to item C, receive proposed personnel commission budget for fiscal year 2021-2022. This is our first review. This comes back to us a couple times before we vote on it. So Jennifer, do you want to take over?
Yes, sorry, I was on mute there.
That's
So
all right.
as you mentioned, Janine, this is the first reading of the budget. Really, the only line item that I want to draw your attention to is the salaries component. The salaries are increasing approximately $19,000. There's no appropriation for contingencies. All the other categories remain the same. If we look at on a year-to-year basis, that is over last year where we had a 0.51% savings. We had some positions that were not filled. This year, the $19,000 increase is a 3.57% increase. All of the other line items such as supplies, operating expenses, equipment remain relatively the same. And so we use the previous year's budget as a baseline, and then we calculate any step increases and salary changes and changes to benefits as well.
Jennifer, can you explain, please, for everyone's information about our cost for this last year as a result of having two people in one position as a result of an accident?
So the executive director salary currently does have two salaries reflected, and that is for the executive director who's on leave due to an accident, as you mentioned, and my working out of class from the HR manager into the interim executive director role. So both salaries are accounted for at this time in that category.
Okay. That's just such a significant piece, and it's hard for people to understand that unless they have that one piece of information. Jeff, I think you had a question before the meeting. I want to make sure that that gets asked again.
Yeah, it's pertaining to that. I don't know what the legal question is on when you have this type of scenario where you are essentially carrying a salary for someone who has not been able to physically work. And so it's just, I don't know what that is a question for HR, legal, on is there a way to address that? And it's just a bookkeeping issue, obviously. But because of the budget, it's dominated by salary, benefits, et cetera. So that was just something I was thinking about and thinking out loud. And that's why I asked the question earlier. So I mean, that's not going to stop this process right now, but I'm just curious if there is a mechanism to address these type of scenarios. Now, the other thing usually people ask is the other costs on there, which are so minimal, but people always seem to focus on expenses or what, paper, things like that. But it really is, it's all about salaries and benefits. And that's what drove me to that one question. And that's it. I don't know when and if we can get an answer to that, or even if there is an answer to that question, but that was my only question I had.
Thank you, Jeff. Jean, do you happen to know an answer to that or not really? Jean, are you with us?
Yeah, I am. So I confess I'm not sure I fully understand the question, because I think what's important to understand is, salaries and benefits need to go on a particular line item. And this is the line item that both those salaries would go on. So there is not, if someone is on leave, it still sits within that budget.
Even though,
Okay.
Jean, I mean, again, such a rarity. It's been on leave for over a year, regardless of all the other factors. I was just curious. I mean, we're carrying it, and I understand that, and there's no other place you can put it, but it just is such a unique situation all the way around.
Right.
And I think you answered the question that it is what it is. We're going to have to carry it regardless.
Correct.
I
Thank you,
do have a
Jean.
question.
Go ahead, Robin.
I have a question for Jennifer. Jennifer, can you explain column 2 to me? I think I understand it, but I'm not quite sure. The heading says that the numbers are estimated through June 2021.
We've moved away from reflecting the data in the LACO format because it's really not comparing apples with apples. We have an adopted budget, and then the way that the number has been projected in the actual column has been through March in previous years, which makes it look like a very big variance in the amount. So what we've done is we've estimated the actual through June of 2021 for this year, for the last fiscal year. And then what we're doing is proposing next year's fiscal year budget in the last column.
Where I'm missing it is that, so this 394,000, are you saying that's the estimated budget expense through March 30? And that you only have from April until June 30th to go to fill the rest of this budget? Because when I look at it, it almost looks like you'd have a huge variance. So what am I missing?
So due to the pandemic, we may not have utilized all the funds that we have in certain line items. For example, supplies for office supplies. We're not in the office physically, but we wouldn't want for the next fiscal year not to account for the possibility of being back in the office and fully utilizing that amount. So again, we use the previous year's budget as a baseline, and then we build upon it on a year-to-year basis. Another example would be like equipment, 6,000, line item 6,000. We haven't used anything in that line item for this fiscal year. However, for next fiscal year, we want to account for that dollar amount.
Right, and that's what I see. When I look at your adopted budget versus the proposed budget, it makes perfect sense to me. But when I look at the estimated actual, I'd have to almost assume that the variance is almost $300,000. Are you saying that that's how much of a savings because of the pandemic that's been realized? Do you see what I'm saying when you look at, okay, all right, then I'm fine.
Yeah, so I think what I need to do is go back and drill down for the second reading and really get a better understanding of where these numbers are and speak to that at the next meeting. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, there's a huge variance there, and I'm okay if the variance, if you say to me, well, yeah, we didn't expense $11,000 worth of equipment, I expect that. But when I'm looking at this, then it's just too much for me to surmise, if I'm making any sense.
It makes sense to me, Robin, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm not trying to give you extra work. You guys have enough to do. Thank you.
I want to make sure that that's not a typo as well. I definitely want to look into it carefully.
All right,
Thank you for pointing it out.
Yeah, I agree with Robin. It makes complete sense what she's asking. Any other questions, comments, things we need to be digging into more deeply? This will be coming back to us 2 more times, right, Jennifer?
We do a second reading and then it is approved and then we have to take it to the board as well. So I will be presenting it multiple times. One more time.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on the proposed budget for 2021, 2022? Everyone feels good, comfortable about that? Okay. No, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'll feel more comfortable with some additional data. Is that okay to express it that way?
Yes, of course.
Right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it makes complete sense. Anyone else? Okay, closing items, comments from the staff. Jennifer, what do you have for us? You're on mute, Jennifer. There you go.
Right, so a couple of quick updates for you. I wanted to provide a quick class study update, just give you a general overview. I picked 2 VP areas just to give you kind of a sample of what we received back from the individual position allocations. For example, in academic affairs, there's 168 positions that we provided recommendations for. Of the 168 positions, we received 141 agreements from the deans and the VP, Dr. Scott, and then 27 disagrees, which basically means it could just be, we need further clarification on a few items. Can you please provide the rationale for why this decision was proposed over this decision? So all in all, 16% disagrees is not too bad in the grand scheme of things. As a result of that feedback we received, we will have to touch 94 class specs again to make some adjustments, update MQs based on the final agreement, update, for example, maybe titles in some cases. So that's for one VP area. In student services, there are a total of 163 position allocations that we recommended outcomes for. Of those 163, 147 were agrees. So that was a pretty good number, and 17 disagrees, which means just around 10% that we have to look into further. We're going to be touching 79 class specs in that case. So that just gives you a nice high-level overview of the type of information we received back, the action that's required on HR's part moving forward. I am meeting next Monday with AFT. That will include the same individuals we met with for PC Rule 6, which would be Robert Rometta, Donna Coates, and Mark Smith. We're going to look at the appeal process, a one-page instructions, and also the form that has to be completed by staff, and reach agreement on that before we move forward. So the next step is getting the established written appeal process signed off. Then we will be in a position where we can start to notify employees of the individual outcomes. We will be doing that on a rolling basis through May, and with the intent of implementing as soon as we can through the month of June. So that's the class study. Any questions on that piece?
Jennifer?
Yeah,
When people on the disagreement, I mean, to have really only 17 people in that one, you said disagreed. I'm curious, is there any type of details to their reasoning behind it? I mean, and maybe they just disagreed because of something so small, but were you able to, in general, was there a theme or a basis why the 17 disagreed? I mean, it's a phenomenal response, but sometimes those 17 may have a perspective that is good to look at. But if they just say we disagree and leave it at that, it's hard to follow up. But anything?
Oh no, there were specific notes. So sometimes it was, I disagree with the minimum qualifications that are proposed based on industry standards. Can you please review, these 2 pieces of information or this website? So that would be an example. Another example would be, well, there's a technician and there's a specialist in this series. This one individual, I believe, is working more at the specialist level than the technician level. Can you please revisit the reconsideration, or can you please revisit your focus group notes to make sure that we're allocating to the appropriate level?
Oh, it was good. That's very good feedback for you then. Okay, perfect. That was what I wanted to.
Very detailed. And so we're looking into all of those cases this week.
Right. That's fantastic. Good job.
Robin, I thought I saw you ready to comment.
I was just going to commend Jennifer and her team, and also to give kudos to Robert and his team. This is hard work, and I don't take it lightly. So I want to thank you, because this is hard work and I know it. So, well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. I completely agree. The progress that you guys have made has been really extraordinary. We were at such a standstill for such a long time, and you really took the bull by the horns, and we really, really appreciate it. So thank you to both sides, to Jennifer and her team, to Robert and everyone in the classified staff who's participated in this. It's been a lot of going forward, and we really appreciate the work that it took to get there. So thank you. Robert, did you have anything to say on this, or no? Are you out there, Robert? Did we lose you? It's like we lost him.
Sorry. Whoops. No, I'm good. Thank you. I had someone asking me a question, but I'm gonna research it first and bring it to the commission in 2 weeks.
Okay,
So yeah, everything has been great. I'm really happy that we could work things out with Jennifer. The only question I have is on the reclassification of when classified may actually start seeing the returns, like the ones that weren't being questioned, Jennifer?
So once we reach the agreement on the appeal, the goal is mid-April through mid-May to start notifying employees.
Okay,
So as early as late this month.
okay. Thank you, Jennifer.
that's great. Any other comments about what Jennifer has spoken to? We're all good? Okay, on to comments from commissioners. Robin and Jeff, do you have anything for us this evening?
No, I do not. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jeff. How about you, Robin?
I do not.
Thank you. I just want to wish everyone a good spring break. For those that are taking it off this week and for those that are not, I understand that you're getting a lot of work done and we all appreciate that, getting geared up to get back into classrooms, at least on a limited basis. So thank you for that. Dario was sharing that his team is having a lot of work done in the culinary area, preparing for additional Zoom features. So thank you to everyone who is working on that as well. So that's my only comment. Public comments on non-agenda items. Is there anyone that wants to speak to this, Juliet, or anyone who's out there? Do you want to share anything with us? Nothing for tonight? Okay, thank you. With that, we are going to recess to closed session. We are going to, we're going to be speaking about a performance valuation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. This is for the interim executive director, classified human resources. So the three of us will be going into closed session with Jean at this time. We will be coming back. We do not anticipate having any sort of action. So I just want to share that with you so that if you're waiting for some sort of announcement or something, that's unlikely. And I know I don't want to waste your time if you have better things to do, like watch a basketball game. So with that, we will go ahead and go into closed session. Dario, if you could take us all there, that would be great. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you. When you're ready, Dario.
Recording in progress.
Okay, we're live.
Thank you. We're coming back in from a closed session for our meeting, and I have nothing to report on this evening's closed session. We have no reports to give, no actionable items. With that, we will be adjourning for this evening, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate your attendance and your participation. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, you
Good night.
guys. Thank you.
Recording stopped.